quick recap on what is urban transformation. Basically, it is the term coined by URA. It says targeted at key growth area of Singapore for economic growth. In short, it actually means for abundance and prosperity, right? If you are buying into those locations, that the government is gonna make sure that there is key growth area earmarked by the government as well as is targeted for growth. Okay, so there are 4 different initiatives that the government has also used based on these key growth areas. So first thing first is you will see that they are relocating existing assets for new urban planning. And for such, just to give you 2 examples, one is the relocation of the Paya Lebar Air Base, 800 hectares of site. The other one is actually the Greater Southern Waterfront Transformation, that they are shifting the 4 ports all the way to Tuas Megaport, right? So that's one of the initiative. The second one would be developing of new township and business center. So in the recent times, we have the new township of Bayshore Township coming up, as well as the Lentor Township too. In terms of business center, we also have the Punggol Digital District that will be completing next year as well, to give you some examples. Yeah. The third initiative would be rejuvenating our existing infrastructure for extensive urban planning. So for such, what we are looking at is already a mature estate, but right now they are further expanding their plan, like the Jurong Lake District plan, right, which is a mature estate already, or if not, the Beauty World Integrated Transport Hub as well, that we see a lot. All right, and the fourth one is basically targeting at revitalizing existing heritage and recreational spaces, and this is focused a lot on the conservation shop houses where investment value are at least 6 to 8 million onwards. So I'm not going to touch so much on 4th actionables, but this is just a quick recap for you, for some of you who have probably seen me more than a year ago. And why property prices seems crazy today will look like bargain in 2030. So what we're going to do here is learning from the past and also giving you a couple of case studies here and let us determine the future. So we are able to see the crystal ball from here, right? So the very first case study we want to share with you is urban transformation zones versus non-urban transformation zones, which is areas that the government is investing heavily into against those that the government is not investing heavily in terms of growth as a keynote areas of government's plan. So this area we're going to talk into is this locale called Bidadari Township, okay, the Bidadari Estate. So it's not something new for all of you, so that you could easily grasp the context with me. So we learned that the very first launch that happens here is called the Trevor, the furthest away from Woodleigh train station, and it's at within the realms of the Potong Pasir Estate, going about 1,550 per square foot to $1,600 per square foot back in 2018. Okay, and there was only 140 units sold back then. And the second one, which is just next to the MRT, is called Park Colonia, also launched in the same year as well in 2018. They were transacting just $150 per square foot higher at $1,700 per square foot. And then the most expensive one, called Woodleigh Residences, that integrated development in a place that is not even proven, which is the Bidadari Township, right? At $2,000 per square foot back in 2018 as well. So in this instance, because we think that price are always very high, hence we always don't take action, right? So in this instance, I'm going to use the most expensive here, which is Woodleigh Residences, the most expensive one. If you were to buy at close to $2,000 per square foot, can you actually make money today on a place that is untested? Okay. So to look at Woodleigh Residence, this is a unit that we point out here that is purchased back in 2019, 14 October. Unit number 07-47, a 3-bedder at 958 square foot, bought in at 1.873 million. And this is a PSF of close to 2,000 and 1,955 per square foot. So imagine this, buying in at such a high price is not tested. And then in 2015, 5 years later, the same unit was sold for close to 2.5 million at a $2,600 per square foot. Looking at the price tag of back then, thinking that $2,000 is very expensive on a place that's not proven, today this guy has made 33% over just 5 years, or if not, a very handsome profit of 620,000 gross in just 5 years. So is it really the price tag that we are thinking that we shouldn't be entering the market? Or is it something else that we are missing here? So next thing we then want to look into is the locale of these 3 developments. So the Trevor, as you learned just now, this is the one that is $1,500 to $1,600 per square foot. Then followed by Park Colonia being at $1,700, and then the Woodleigh Residences at $2,000. And looking at Woodleigh Residences performances, if you were to enter early, PSF were actually even as low as $1,750 per square foot, with some selling even as high as $2,750 per square foot over a 5 years window. And look at profitable transaction, there were actually 73 profitable transactions, which is a lot, because if you learn from the main webinar that I always emphasize, transaction volumes equals price appreciation. In short, when there's hot demand, the property prices will always climb. Because why? People always negotiate based on the last transaction as a consumer, and hence they always beef up the prices accordingly. Okay, and there were two unprofitable transactions here. But I want to share with you that these two unprofitable transactions is not a fair gauge of the development performance, because if you look at the owner that bought in, so let's take for example the first one that was purchased on the 7th of June 2024. This guy actually purchased just 1 year ago in 2023. Holding days was 331 days, which also means that this guy actually got penalized by the government or get punished by IRAS, 8% seller stamp duty, because they sold it within the second year of holding period. Okay, so this guy probably doesn't have holding power. That's what it means. And then the second one that was sold on 2022 and bought in year 2018, even though it fulfilled the seller stamp duty period, he doesn't have the holding power as well, because in 2024 August, that's where Woodleigh Residences achieved TOP status. This guy sold before TOP, and at the point in time, there is still progressive payment undispersed. So that's it. He also got penalized heavily, likely from the banks as well, for 1.5% on the amount that is not dispersed by the banks. Easily about 40%. So I want to let you know that these unprofitable transactions are based on the holding power, the inability to hold during this period where they are just paying and paying and paying. There's no rental income coming in because they are buying a new build development, right? So one thing to note is that even though it could be a urban transformation location, make sure you're prudent enough to set aside the monthly installment until TOP, so that you will not end up like these two transactions that sold because they can't hold throughout the entire progressive payment period before TOP. So next, we then look into the rental contracts as well. And back then we didn't know exactly how much it should be commanding. But today, if you look at the 3 bedrooms, which is between 900 to 1,000 square foot, they are commanding around $7,000 rental. Not too bad for buying something that's 1.8 million, right? Okay, so that said, the yield is really, really high. So comparing that against two properties right now, I'm going to kick off with one first that is not within the government's planning zone. And this is 3 Cascaden, a property within District 9 of Angullia Park. Alright, so it's very near Patterson Road. So imagine you bought it in around 2018 and you buy it at a price tag of $3,500 per square foot. Today in 2025, they actually sold it for $3,000 per square foot. And one guy actually take the brunt of the losses and then move on. Okay, so selling $500 PSF lower. So there are one unprofitable transaction and there's one profitable transaction. So the profitable transaction is actually a one bedder that made about 220,000 after holding 4 years. Okay, that's not exactly a lot of profit if you look at the PSF that they buy based on the size and also the high entry prices of 3,500. If you look at the unprofitable transaction, that's the guy that took the hit, basically 100,000 in losses here. Okay, and that is a holding period about 5 years and still make losses. And beyond that, we look at the rental of this unit, 2 bedders here, based on the buy price that we talked about just now. The rental is approximately $6,000 a month they are getting. Next, we then look at another one called 120 Grange Road. So 120 Grange Road, you will enter at a PSF of about $3,200 during year 2018. But when it comes to the sale in 2025, you actually make a sale lower than $3,000 PSF, which means this guy actually make a loss. So there are 2 profitable transactions, but I don't think these are profitable, because if you look at the numbers in terms of how much profit, $9,000 profit, okay, holding period of 4 years, these can't even pay their agent commission, right, when they sell, right? And the one that is second profitable transaction make 33,000, can't even pay stamp duties as well after holding about 3 years. When you talk about unprofitable transactions, there are 3, and these are even making heavier losses, 200 over 1,000 as well. And looking at just the 2 bedrooms rental, we are looking at a median rental price of around 4,500. So the question that I have for all of you here is, a Woodleigh Residences, which is something in District 13, a 3 bedroom was priced at 1.85 million back in 2020, and right now commands a median rental of 7,000 today. Comparing to 2 properties that are 3 Cascaden and also 120 Grange, both a freehold development in District 9, a 2-bedder that is priced at a median of 2.9 million and also 2.2 million respectively. and commanding a rental of 6,000 and 4,500. As an investor, right now looking at these matrices and attributes, which is more important? Is it freehold and core central region, or is it urban transformation zones that really make the money for you? Can you type inside the chat so that I know whether you are seeing what I'm seeing here? Because at the end of it, you must be able to see it for yourself and then make the right decision or the investment call. Because I could actually only show you the data and of course the performance based on the past. So don't think of it like in the past where people think that freehold and core central region is definitely make money because they think that freehold can hold forever, so definitely it's going to hold its value, right? Okay, so I want to let you know that now it doesn't really hold value. In fact, it actually drops in terms of its valuation too. So the key note that we want you to really understand here is volume equals appreciation, and freehold property tends to have lesser unit in the development, unlike those that are really in the past. There are big ones like Park Infinia and whatnot, but if not, literally most of them are less than 280 units, and that's where you get stuck. Right now we know that urban transformation is the way to go. Next case study I want to share with you here is that even if there is a huge price gap in year 2020 in an urban transformation zone, can you still make money? And I'm comparing these two developments here. One is my ex-residence called Coco Palms, okay? And the other one is Pasir Ris 8, which just TOP not too long ago, about 8 months or a year ago, okay? So in year 2020, if you were to take action in Pasir Ris 8 and against Coco Palm, you would enter at $1,750 per square foot against $1,250. One is a resale, one is a new launch based on the same timeline. There is a 40% price gap difference when it comes to entry. And when you look at the profitable transactions, there are 4. There are not many. They are reselling right now, mostly by integrated to whole. Okay, so the annualized gain is about 5.3% here for Pasir Ris 8. The next one is Coco Palm. We see people having an annualized gain of 6.2%, even though they buy it as a resale. So the conclusion here I want to share with you here is that under urban transformation, irregardless of your entry prices, new or resale, these are highly profitable development, and this is the constant that we see throughout our research when we do, back to back with our research team as well. So this is a constant and this is a sure win. So the key takeaway that we want you to know is urban transformation isn't a trend, it's a guarantee. Once you miss it, you will chase prices again because prices are going to grow at an exponential rate. So the earlier you enter, the lower your risk, because the earlier you buy, the cheaper your entry price. So what is the hallmark of an investor trade? The hallmark is low risk, high return. So how do you get a low risk, high return as an investor? By entering earlier. And in fact, entering the sooner, the better. All right? And that's how you're going to get your high return.